7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, welcome back into the Vegas Squares podcast. Myself, Spike, and Token Tony here in the virtual studio. And we are sponsored by 12 Ounce Sports Network, where you can find all of our shows and all of the other shows along with the network on 12ozsportsradio.com. We are also sponsored by Seat Giant, promo code 12 Ounce Sports, where you can get discounted sporting event, concert, and theater tickets. And our newest sponsor, Fat Tees Barbecue, where you can get everything from shoulders to briskets to ribs. Everything in the Albuquerque area. If you are there, stop by, tell them the Vegas Square sent you. Check them out at fatteesbarbecue.com. Hopefully nationwide shipping coming very, very soon. All right, now that we paid the bills, I want to talk about this because it affects not only sports, but it affects our city of Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And there is a newest proposal from MGM Resorts to host the NBA's rest of the regular season and the playoffs at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in what they have unofficially dubbed as a bubble city. Now, initial thoughts are, well, for us, we don't like the NBA necessarily. And I can't say we don't like it. We don't tune into it. But if this can be a success, this can lead to maybe the NHL or other leagues, boxing matches, UFC events, being able to do this. But by bubble city, what they're talking about in the MGM's proposal to the NBA, the resort company has said that Mandalay Bay Event Center will serve as the hub because it's connected to a variety of hotels, and the Mandalay Bay Event Center can safely have as many as 24 basketball courts built inside the convention center.
Mm-hmm. Which, just the absurdity of the size of that seems crazy to me because, especially with the social distancing, obviously they're not going to be able to house fans in each one of those.
Correct.
But they have to be able to keep the teams and the personnel and the players and the front office people away from each other and have enough space to put in not only the 24 courts, but 24 or essentially 48 areas for all these people to congregate and have their different things. So the scope and the size of these convention centers in Vegas has always been fascinating to me.
Well, the first question really regarding the statement you just made, Spike, is if we keep the NBA franchises, teams, personnel, everybody involved with this operation, if we keep them quarantined, it's almost effectively the same thing as if we can find out that all these thousands of people are negative, for the COVID virus.
Yeah.
What makes this any different than the people you live in your own house with?
Mm-hmm.
I understand it's on a much grander scale, but if every single person you come in contact with every single day is COVID-19 negative, I mean, like we've talked about before, you're at more risk to go to the grocery store than you would be to hang with a bunch of negative COVID-19 people. Because at least all the people you're interacting with are negative for the 19 virus.
Yes. Yeah, in a vacuum, that's true. But when you're outside, like the virus being able to live on, plastic for anywhere from 3 to 7 days, the virus being able to live on wood or cardboard for 1 to 3 days. These are things that even if the only people that you are interacting with are people that have tested negative, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are free from the virus. It is
we're never going to be free from the virus.
Oh, no, absolutely. But, until the vaccine comes in, it's still, they're always going to say, keep wearing masks when you go outside, stay inside as much as possible, et cetera, and so on. It's the same things that we've been hearing right now. It is the quote-unquote new normal until a vaccine comes out.
Yeah, but I mean, if we don't do anything normal until a vaccine, what is our estimated timetable for a vaccine? Whenever they want it?
Probably a year.
That's absurd.
Yeah, I heard as early, and this is the earliest.
I think if they wanted to, they could create it tomorrow if they wanted to. That's the fortunate thing.
I'm sure they actually already have created a vaccine, in my belief, but they don't want to release it yet.
The NBA is currently targeting May 8th, as we discussed earlier, as a potential date for teams in cities with stay-at-home orders eased up as the date where they can begin practicing in their facilities again. I understand, like we said, regardless of viewpoints on the virus, we cannot stay away. We're not 100% free from any virus, much less the COVID-19 virus. So I think MGM is onto something here. I mean, I'm not advocating, because this league has also been pitched. Disney World also pitched this as well to the NBA, and it's currently being considered. The only thing I'm wondering is how much would MGM or Disney World want from the NBA to put this show on? Because TV contracts are going to be one. They're going to be wanting TV contracts, et cetera.
Right. The price is going to be interesting, and you know that both Disney and MGM have lost a truckload of money during the shutdown. So I can understand them trying to get everything they can out of the league, and obviously capitalism makes sense. This is what they want to do, etc. But I think the league has to be prudent, and I think they have to work in conjunction with the city, because I remember, and you guys were here when the NBA All-Star Game was in Las Vegas, right?
No.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
I think that was 2009.
Okay, so that was back when Scottie Pippen had really officially earned the nickname No Tippin' Scottie Pippen. There were, numerous stories of fights, of violence, of theft, of people getting stiffed. And if you ask, most of the people that worked in the service industry in and around the Strip about the NBA All-Star Game, none of them have positive stories. At least none of the people that I've spoken with have positive stories about it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So
I hear the same negative stories as well.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where MGM may be saying, hey, we want this to happen, but for all the people that have to service the NBA players that are coming, service.
I know what you mean. Yeah. They come from Pahrump, those servicers.
That's the kind of thing that you really have to wonder about, if they would even want those people here. Not that they would have the ability or the voice to be able to stop it from happening necessarily, but
what tipping positions are going to be open? I mean, the casinos aren't.
But I mean, these guys
it'll be like room service or stuff like that.
It'd probably have to be room service or some kind of delivery with the Grubhub, Uber Eats, whatever it may be.
I mean, look, I work in the service industry. If we're basing a basketball season on whether the athletes tip or not, we're going off track here.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I mean, if they refuse to work for them, you get somebody who will. And I know that sounds very rude, but I mean, the casinos won't be open, restaurants won't be open. You're going to probably mostly be catering. My imagine is the NBA is going, or MGM Resorts will be catering mass like buffet style meals to all these teams, because I would imagine these teams, while remaining mostly separate as much as possible, they're going to be together as a unit. So it's easy to feed everyone the same thing versus trying to pick and choose whatever. And most of these guys are going to have personal chefs. The logistics of putting everybody in a hotel room that's about the size of this room when they're used to their mansions may be a more realistic, negative to this story. I can obviously see the negative counterparts to this, but there's not really much. I mean, we're not saying that NBA athletes, while they're not playing basketball, are going to be out visiting the city. I mean, I think this is a strictly business decision that doesn't even affect Vegas financially. This has nothing to do with bringing money to the city of Las Vegas. This is just finishing seasons, which Spike, you and I talked about. Getting closure to this in the NHL season are really big for fans right now.
Yeah, but I mean, no matter what, it's going to be there's going to be money coming in, and whether it's direct or indirect.
It's TV. It's got to be TV revenue.
I mean, yeah, it'll be TV revenue, but I mean, the MGM's not volunteering the Mandalay Bay for this. If they decide they're going to have this out there, they'll get some of the TV revenue, or they'll just have the league pay them directly.
Well, they're partners with the league right now in terms of sports betting. So obviously that's why MGM is at the forefront of offering this, because they're already in a financial collaboration. when I say there's not money bringing in, I don't know how the city of Las Vegas can benefit from this financially.
Well, I mean, it's revenue from the MGM. At the very least, it's going to be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
And if they decide to, for the players that they're putting up for however long and the personnel and everything else, it's room tax. And if the players are spending money, I mean, you're saying that everything's going to be catered, everything's going to be taken care of. You know that these guys at some point are going to go venturing out, or they're going to get something delivered from wherever else, even if it's, only a handful of times. That's still, helping out the smaller, maybe the mom and pop restaurants, maybe it's
some of the sales tax.
Domino's.
Some of the sales tax is a county tax, not a state tax. So
sure, yeah. So, it's just one of those things when you're bringing in, what is it, 15 people per NBA roster. So what's that, 30 times, or
You're probably bringing in 40 to 50 people on a team per team.
Yeah. So if they do, say the a standard 16-team playoff, then that's however many hundreds of people that are coming in. That's not nothing. Like, you're not going to have 800 people come into a city and spend $0 out of their own pocket especially if they're here for multiple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I mean those 100, 200 Uber orders or Uber Eats orders aren't going to really crack a dent in. I get what you're saying about taxable revenue, but we've all seen corporations' way to kind of skirt those things.
Oh, sure.
And we've also seen the city of Las Vegas's ability to lose money and subsequently find money. I'm looking at you, Raider Stadium.
Yeah, fuck that. Fucking monstrosity.
I mean, we just legalized weed, 3 years ago? And it was supposed to be for schools and roads, and our schools and roads are Fs and Fs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this city has a funny ability to lose money and subsequently turn over a rock and find money. So when you talk about taxable revenue benefiting the city of Las Vegas, I'll believe it when I see it, But you're on the right track with that. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly reasonable to think that because things aren't open, because these guys aren't going to be going out clubbing or to the bars and, dropping tens of thousands of dollars. It's obviously not going to have the impact that people may want, but it's still something. Like, it's not a nothing thing.
Let me ask you guys this. If you're MGM and you bring in all these players, do you not open your casino to these degenerate gamblers?
Yeah, well, and that's the other side of it too, is the new Nevada Gaming Control Board regulations that came out for the proposed openings.
3-handed blackjack, 4-handed craps.
4-handed poker, 6-handed roulette, or 6-handed, is it 6 at roulette, 4 at craps?
6 at craps, 4 at roulette. I'm sorry, I got that backwards,
Well, whatever, and the entire floor capacity can only be at 50%.
Yeah, but MGM has 8 resorts here?
I think 13.
No, they don't have 13 resorts here.
It has 13 Vegas resort properties, it says.
MGM does?
Yep.
All right.
Well, they just sold Circus Circus.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, that would bring
the
them down
article
to
I'm reading, it says
tokens, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's not get it twisted. The property Skylofts at MGM Grand, that's residential. Signature MGM, those aren't casinos. Vdara doesn't have a casino. So, I mean, realistically, I'm talking about casino resorts. You probably have 8? Aria, Bellagio, MGM, Mandalay, Mirage. What's
Luxor.
Monte Carlo called now? Park MGM.
Park MGM.
So yeah, you've got 7 or 8. Point being is you've got enough casino floor on all of your properties, and they're going to be limoed over. I think MGM could capitalize huge here. And you're right. I mean, that tax revenue may help Las Vegas, but even from a standpoint of not even benefiting Las Vegas, just from the sports standpoint of finishing these seasons, if they can do it in a healthy environment, as healthy as anyone can possibly make anything other than a hospital, I think they got to try, because not only does that have hope for the NBA, the NHL could get on board. I mean, the MGM Grand Garden Arena exists. T-Mobile Arena is partially owned by MGM.
Yeah.
And that's already got an ice rink in it. I mean, there's a way we can sit here. If this could be a success, we could have NHL come back. We could have UFC, boxing. I know that sports are on the back burner, but we're a sports podcast. Anything that offers hope for sports is a good thing for me.
It also offers hopes for people, though. I mean, gives them something to watch, something to look forward to.
And I don't know how
something boosts morale.
I don't know how much contracts are ironclad or able to be negotiated. But if the NBA can get this and say, we're going to be broadcasting sports that matter right now, we need to renegotiate. We need to come to the table and renegotiate the TV contracts.
Yeah.
Because if they can get more money, because the thing is with TV contracts, the market share is not huge because everybody has their own TV network. But if you can get a TV deal with ESPN, or even if you get all the local TV deals to come in and broadcast their team's games like Summer League style, you've got the market share. We've talked about market share the last 3 or 4 podcasts. If you've got the market share, you can demand more money. Now, again, I don't know how ironclad these contracts are because they're signed over like 10-year periods. Mm-hmm. But maybe ESPN, who's so desperate for content right now, they might pony up another $500 million to fucking show live sports.
They might be that crazy too, yeah.
I don't know if that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can convert convention centers to basketball courts and find a way to keep as many people as you can healthy. And again, you know, we talk about even if these players contract the virus, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell are the two we know who were most popular that contracted it. They got over it in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they beat it in 5 days. We still don't know if there are long-term effects of this thing.
Well, true. But, I mean, we've got to eventually make an attempt. Otherwise, we'll be sitting in the what-if stages for, like you said, a year for the vaccine.
Yeah, and that's just way too long.
And it's not even just being a selfish sports fan. That's just life in general. If someone has to take a step, and sports other than business might be the best arena, no pun intended, to take that step. Because if businesses take the leap and open up and things go wrong, those businesses could be crushed forever. The long-lasting financial effects, the bad name that they could get by failing. If the NBA takes a step with hundreds of athletes who are in shape and it's a success, maybe we can move forward with other things in life.
Yes. It would be definitely a big step in the right direction.
So, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the only example that we have of this, of a disease that is this contagious and this deadly is the 1919 Spanish flu, where they had a situation where, you know, however many million got it, they had about 1 to 2 million deaths. People eventually got sick and tired of the quarantine and the wearing masks and everything else. So they said, you know what, enough is enough. We got to reopen the economy. We got to get back into the States. We got to get back into the swing of things. And, you know, that was eventually fine until the second wave hit that killed 22 million.
I'm aware. Yes, I understand.
You know, these are the history lessons that we need to pay attention to, especially for something that has no vaccine, for something that we haven't seen that is this deadly. So, you know, there's still going to be, even when things reopen, people are still going to be staying home. Even when things reopen, people are going to be much more cautious about going out and about going to games and going to movie theaters and restaurants and everything else. So, you know, is that going to be enough? You know, only time's going to tell. I know that when this broke, one of the quotes that I heard that really made a lot of sense was, you know, we're never going to know if our reaction was an overreaction or exactly what we needed to do, but we're going to be damn sure that we know if we underreacted. So
right. Well, we didn't have there's no country in the world that could act as a control group because everybody quarantined. Not saying I was volunteering anybody, but.
Yes and no. I mean, the first case in the United States came out the first day of South Korea, and South Korea had significantly less of an impact because they jumped on it right away, as opposed to the United States that kind of twiddled its thumbs and waited a couple of weeks before actually starting the state-by-state stay-at-home order
right.
And everything else.
But when I say a control group, I mean there's not a country in the world that had no stay-at-home orders or quarantine.
Oh, sure.
So we don't have any country that did nothing to compare it to. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I get that. But, I mean, we've seen what happens in the countries that acted very, very quickly against the countries that delayed. And the countries that delayed having any kind of reaction were hit significantly harder than the ones that went into it right away. So it's not a true control group, but we have a comparison that we can make.
Well, yes, to a quarantining immediately or waiting it out, but to a group that did absolutely nothing, we don't have that. And we can never say that we overreacted because we can't say, well, look at Africa. They didn't move and they turned out fine, or they all died.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out in the end.
So, all right, well, let's hope for sports fans' sakes that this may be a plan that we can execute going forward and everything positive comes out of it that we expect. The finishing of the NBA season, maybe more sports, and everybody who gets involved in this quote-unquote experiment lives. All right, well, that wraps up our podcast. For Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We will catch you on the next one.